on Sundays. I love it.
Imposing my will.
You do that so well.
You're welcome.
Pop. And welcome back to Beer Fueled Fantasy Football with a lot of talking over the intro for some reason.
I was ready to go. You guys weren't. So,
This is Wednesday's episode.
It's a Wednesday episode. You should expect this.
We've been drinking.
Well, thankfully, the first bottle was not a
8.5%.
8.5,
scoff at it either, though.
It was not 11, though. So thankfully, the second bottle is 11. So this should be an interesting episode.
Oh my God.
So those of you that haven't figured it out yet, we record on the same day this time of year.
Yes.
Yes, because we only have so much free time to get together and actually drop all these episodes. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We are back here. We are going to cover some mystery players today, which we did preview for that a little bit on Monday's episode. So if you haven't heard that, go check that out where we talk about some fantasy fallacies in analysis and player information. Before we do that, though, I do want to go ahead and jump into a beer preview before we cover this entire
Nothing
no
to shout
Twitter
out.
shout-out?
Nothing
Come
like
on.
Twitter. No
So,
merch. No
I'm at-
guest appearances.
All right.
I'm
You
at
guys
30.
got it? Go ahead.
I'm at 30 BFF. To my right of me, you have Christopher Hopper rocking our new hat and shirt.
At Hot BFF with 2 P's. If you like the merch, we've got red, teal, gray. We got some hats. Be sure to send us a DM if you'd like to get your hands on some of it. We are obviously selling the stuff, and we could definitely use the money.
And or email at beerfueledfantasy@gmail.com. Please
And that
subscribe
voice-
please subscribe to YouTube so you can actually see the merchandise being modeled right now.
And the voice you hear is the person sitting across from me, the actual host of this, Nick Sparts.
At Nick Sparts with TZ.
With the TZ. Not the
With the
same
Z.
not the same flow. Not the same flow. Yeah, like us on iTunes. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment. That helps us out. YouTube, same thing. Also, in the coming weeks, we're going to do a listener Dynasty League, which means that there are people that can be stuck with us. We're still hashing out details. We're still hashing out how we're going to qualify people, but be looking for that announcement. We'll also have details on the Redraft Listener League coming up, as well as some other fun stuff that we're going to be doing with you guys. So be sure to keep tuning in for details on all that if you would like to play with us this year.
Our new Dynasty League that Nick wants to totally start.
Yes, I was going to be announcing that at the end of the show, but okay, we'll talk about it now.
It's kind of important, Nick.
No, you put it at the beginning of the show so that people that, only have a 30-minute drive to work that don't hear the end of the show know it's there.
But then they can listen to the rest on the drive home.
Market it, yeah. But if they don't know it's there, they don't know they need to keep listening.
That's right.
So you put important
on,
stuff
Nick.
at the beginning of the show.
And we'll and the things like the Listener League for the Redraft, that will probably be fully announced in July.
Yep.
All right. Now can we do a beer preview?
I don't know.
Maybe.
You do drive the drop train.
Oh, okay.
One man should not hold so much power.
You can't take this power away from me at this point.
No, I don't want to. I don't want
Yeah, he has the power to cut our mics.
I don't want that responsibility.
He can do 50 drops in a single second, which sounds amazing.
You haven't been quadruple dropped yet. It's been...
Case in point.
It was like a 6 drop?
Yeah, I just kind of fingered as many of them as I possibly could.
That's what she said.
Phrasing?
Phrasing. Okay.
It's
anyway.
Wednesday, folks.
Welcome to the
Bear with
Wednesday
us.
episode.
All right, well, let's get into our beer of the week. We've got New Holland Brewing Dragon's Milk Reserve. This is their special cherry chocolate edition. Apparently, it was bottled just barely over a month ago, so it's pretty fresh.
Oh, my God.
Rocks in at 11%. This is New Holland's first time, and they're just freaking out over there as they're getting their first taste.
Really good. It's amazing. This is awesome. We'll save it for the beer. Save it for later.
Shh, they can hear us.
You're not my peer review supervisor.
We will give you a full review later then, but we're happy to have New Holland on for the first time. They're a relatively big brewery that we have not had on before with a pretty wide distribution, so we're glad that we can finally get them on an episode. Let's go ahead and jump into the mystery player segment, see our new drop.
I love it. I love when you present new drops. I get so excited.
I need to just come up with new segments just to force you to make more new drops.
You got to limit it because I can only change out sound packs every 30 days for free, and we're operating on no budget here. So,
no, we're operating on a negative budget at this point.
we're way in the red.
All right. So basically, for this segment, the idea is we wanted to look at players who, due to either changing depth charts, some questionable talent, low sample sizes, mass coaching changes, or other factors, are going to be this player where it's going to be really tough to project them either in Redraft, Dynasty, or both. And we just wanted to go over those players and talk about some of the issues we might be seeing with them going forward. So we're going to kick it off first with quarterbacks. Dan, do you want to kick us off with Dak Prescott?
Dak Prescott. So I made some talking points for both Redraft and Dynasty because I picked both. So for Redraft, you have the departure of Dez and Jason Witten leaves him with very little weapons around him, especially just unproven ones with Gallup, Hearns coming over, things like that. They want to retool this offense and reshift the focus back to more of a run heavy. You saw that with the draft of Connor Williams, the quote-unquote Jason Witten replacement, kind of, and Dalton Schultz, more of a blocking tight end than a receiving one. So, you know, with that limited opportunity, it's hard to gauge, as Dak is more of a game manager with some of that running upside. He doesn't have the weapons like he had 2 years ago when this was working for them and Dez and Jason Witten. Then for Dynasty, I know this has been brought up kind of a little bit. I know, Nick, you're not on board with this completely, but is Dak the QB of the future for Dallas? And with me saying that is that I think Dak is talented, but he is a game manager. And I don't know if Dallas wants to pay him top QB dollars, you know, for a guy who can, you know, fill in that role from just a veteran. They also drafted Mike White, which raised a lot of eyebrows for Dallas fans when I watched Chat Sports online when they did their live draft coverage. Tom Downey, who does the Dallas conversation out there, was a bit surprised to see this, and he started making comments about how Dallas fans, if Dak struggles, you may see Mike White there. So this is where my struggles come from.
Like the same comments I made whenever we did our draft review.
Exactly. And it's not like I think, you know, Dak is on the hot seat or anything like that, but for guys out there who like to defend Dak, well, that 3-game sample size last year where he struggled doesn't mean anything. To me, it does. To me, it shows when you lose your running back and your best left tackle. Yes, it sucks, but if you're a QB of the future, you get beyond that. You do better than that. You're supposed to be, and he got exposed.
That's what I was going to say.
As you were about to say. And they didn't really surround him with receivers in this draft. Now, I know this isn't a big receiver draft, more so, but a lot of people were surprised when they didn't, target one in the first round this year.
Well, I mean, he's got weapons. He got a top 3 wide receiver that we liked in Michael Gallup, and he got, I forget who they brought in.
Alan Hearns.
Yeah, they brought in Alan Hearns.
You still got Deontay
Thompson, Cole Beasley. He's got people that he can use, but Dak's a guy I see as never being a difference maker. He came back down to earth, and his numbers weren't terrible. 62.9% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 57 for 387 on the ground. It's all solid stuff, but I don't see him as anything more than a streamer at any point. He's kind of on the same level as Marcus Mariota is for me, but with less upside. But as far as where they stand right now, is somebody that's kind of a marginal passer that has some floor with their legs. But ultimately, I just don't know that he's ever going to be the difference maker that Dallas needs. I think this is Zeke's team, and it's going to go where Zeke goes. And I think Dak's a game manager.
And when it comes to picking up, Dak wasn't a first round pick. You don't get that 5th-year option with him. Is Dallas willing to pay him the big money to keep him there that it may take him?
Well, it's also going to matter of how he does over the next few years for how much he's going to cost.
And that's where the value, it tends to be had, that's why it's hard to predict where he stands right now. Is that if Dak comes back to his rookie form where he showed a lot of upside, where he didn't make a lot of mistakes, only had 4 picks that year, but that offense also had Jason Witten and Dez Bryant. You had 2 established receivers, or you had 1 established receiver and a great tight end. He doesn't have that right now. Their tight end core is a fucking mess.
And does he have the arm to be a difference maker is my concern. You got Cooper Rush there, who they liked last year enough to give him the backup job over Kellen Clemens as a guy that had no stock in him whatsoever. They just drafted Mike White. I like the arm talent of both of those guys a little bit more than I like maybe not Rush, but White more than I like what Dak has. And Rush, from what I saw in preseason, I like the arm talent more there than Dak's than I did on his rookie tape or on his college tape. But you just have to wonder, how safe is Dak's job from a dynasty perspective? And I don't think he's more than a streamer until then.
Yeah, and if he struggles, you may start hearing some rufflings around Dallas fans about Mike White. I mean, I don't think Dak's job is as safe as people think it is. I know, I'll get hate for this because there's a lot of Dak truthers out there, and I get his talent. I get the running upside, but you can't just project a quarterback solely based on rushing upside.
Well, it's not like 57 for 387 is amazing rushing upside anyway.
I'll let Nick.
So this is way too much hate for a mystery player. This would be a bury him, is what you guys are doing.
I'm trying not to give a because I do see the upside. I do see the fact that if he can come back to form from his rookie season, he could be. I think he could be.
He doesn't even have to get back to his rookie season in terms of efficiency numbers. He just has to continue running and be a solid passer. That's all we need.
But then he's still only a streamer to me.
He would be a QB1 if he did that. He was a QB1 last year.
Well,
it was an ugly QB1, but it was a QB1.
It wasn't pretty, and that matters to me. So
this is where
I wouldn't feel great about it. But
I would rather stream guys over take a back end QB1 that was an ugly QB1.
I mean, he's kind of in that same range as like Matt Ryan for me, where he's probably going to finish with back end QB1 numbers. It's probably going to be some ugly games, but he's probably going to make up a pair of streaming options.
And that's just where the value is hard to gauge from. It's like some people have him as a back end QB1, and some people have him as a mid QB2. You just don't know yet.
I think having him around 18 is the hate's gone a little too far for those.
Well, and let's not get it mixed up. It's Dan's question mark. I'm burying him. So,
all right, yeah. I'm definitely not burying him.
I see the upside, and that's why I bring him up, because I think he, for most quarterbacks, he is in that conversation of what is he going to be. He regressed last year, as we called for, because what he did his rookie season was remarkable.
Yeah, his efficiency numbers were too good. We predicted the regression.
But then now stems from the fact that they just drafted a quarterback in what, the 5th round. I know it doesn't mean a lot, but we like Mike White.
Well, Mike White and Cooper Rush aside, who I think, again, you can't forget about him either.
No, I'm not saying about Rush.
But those two aside, the thing with Dak is, to me, look, I'm not saying he's terrible. He did regress last year, and his regression was still acceptable for a streamer. I'm saying he's not he's on that fringe back end QB1 to where I would rather own somebody else. I'm not saying he's trash. I'm saying that I would rather own somebody else. He's going to be a quarterback that's drafted, and he's probably not one that I would draft before super late rounds.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be in that. I mean, I think I was looking at rankings for redraft this year, and I think it's about 8. After about quarterback 8 or 9 through about 20, it's just a mess.
Yeah. And he's
it's all the guys where it's like I could see all of these guys finishing top 12, and I could see all of them outside the top 20.
We were having this conversation before we started our Monday episode, because obviously we record both on the same day. Me and Hopper talked about just with the slew of of that the middle tier quarterbacks. This is kind of a good streamer year this year. If you're there's never a reason to draft a quarterback early unless one falls. But this is a particularly good year for streaming quarterbacks because there's a lot of options to pick from, I think.
But yeah, I mean, in that mess though, there's going to be guys I do like more, like Winston, for example, will be a guy I'll look at. Stafford's sometimes considered outside that top tier, and I would take him over this tier of guys too.
Jameis Winston for me.
I just wanted to point out some of the question marks that comes with Dak.
Dak absolutely has some question marks. I just think realistically,
you're also higher on him than we are.
I would expect him to probably regress positively this year.
I think the floor is fine. It's the upside that I question.
Yeah, I would expect we probably see something in terms of efficiency numbers in between his rookie and sophomore years.
For like Dynasty, I'm just more concerned the fact that they didn't surround him with anything. I know that they lost Winton, like they weren't expecting it, which I think is kind of bullshit because he's been kind of hinting at it all last year. Well, in off season,
it just shows how dysfunctional the Cowboys are.
Yeah, so it's that does worry me though.
Nothing like getting started hot with this episode, huh?
Yeah, I should have picked Mariota first. Hopper, why don't you do that one?
Okay. Mariota's a guy who I see a lot of the same as Dak, except I think Mariota has better weapons around him on a good defensive team, which usually plays well for the offense. He's got two good seasons before having a down year last year. His interceptions were up. His touchdown rate was down. Completion percentage and rushing numbers, though, were pretty in line. They brought in Matt LaFleur, who was with the Rams last year as the offensive coordinator, who I think really can help take Mariota's game to the next level, especially with the pieces that he has around him.
As long as they're not running exotic smash mouth again, I'm all for
Which
it.
they won't.
Right. And his potential dynasty-wise, I think, has always been there. And to me, he's kind of a buy low guy coming off of a down year with a guy who's got a successful turnaround story in Goff under his belt as an offensive coordinator that we've seen do it. I think Mariota could take that next level to be towards the top of that streamer pile. And again, we've always kind of liked his dynasty upside. He's got good young weapons around him. So, to me, I question it because of the down season. I question it because you've always kind of had the hype around Mariota, and he's flashed but hasn't ever put up the numbers to support it.
Mhm.
But I like some things that are going on around him also. So to me, I'm cautiously optimistic in redraft to where if I just punt quarterback, he's a guy that I'm looking to take. But in Dynasty, he's a guy that I think, even though I'm on the fence, I'm probably looking to buy if I can get the right deal.
I'm assuming you'd still take Winston over him. Correct?
I would, yes.
Yes.
But he's definitely, he's probably just lower on that same tier, right?
Yes.
I think this is his make it or break it year.
They're tied at the hip, Winston and Mariota.
They
and
are.
They have been since they got drafted.
Yeah.
Until one of them,
As they should be. 'Cause
unless
they're
one of them
1 and 2.
washes out of the league, they will be forever.
Like, I think like this is his make it or break it year. I mean, he finally got out of the smash mouth run first offense that was in place with him since his rookie year.
And it was asinine.
It was terrible. Now you get Deion Lewis, you have Corey Davis, you still have Taywan Taylor. Richard Matthews is a great buyer or is a great sleeper pick for this year. You have Delaney Walker, who has been always consistent. Jonathan Smith, a lot of pieces there. Can he stay healthy? And can he?
Yeah, can he finally play 16
can he
games?
continue to progress as a passer from the pocket?
Yeah, and then and don't forget Larry Rose is a pass catching back too.
Yeah.
and
As
Aquan Wildly.
Hey, we don't talk about him. But yeah, we go on all these shows and they always bring up Wadley, and we're just like Larry Rose, Larry Rose, Larry.
I
Rose.
like both. I like both.
I
though.
did that to DFF Memphis on Dynasty Goat last week.
Yeah, and I did it when I was round tabling with Dynasty ER. Same thing. It's like,
Because he was going on about Wadley, and I'm like, are you concerned at all about Larry Rose, who looks like a better overall back?
yeah, he looks like Wadley
He's
plus.
bigger and he
He's a
can fit
better
the same
runner.
role.
He's
Yeah.
a better runner.
So yeah, the definite benefit for Mariota is I love the weapons there as long as they can figure out how to use them. So I think he's definitely
it's a make it or break it year for me from.
he would be a massive upside swing for me, but because of some of his injury concerns, I definitely would have some question marks about him. And so
He's been banged up for most of his time there.
yeah, he's not played a 16-game season yet.
Yeah. Like I said, if I'm punting quarterback in redraft, or if I'm looking to buy somebody that has some upside in Dynasty, that's where he's at.
That's a great mark.
Yep.
All right, and then my guy is Deshaun Watson, who we've talked about quite a lot already.
I hate him.
I saw this and I laughed. I'm like, this will be fun.
So he played 6.5 games last year because he technically had 7 games played, but he came in at halftime in game 1 after they're getting demolished by Jacksonville.
So he played 13 halves.
13 halves, yes. Good math, Dan.
I'm good
So,
for something. I'm good
Projecting
for
out
something.
his offensive metrics here, if he played all 16 games. 4,182 passing yards, 46 touchdowns, 662 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns.
600. Jesus.
23 interceptions.
Shh, not there yet. If you just take the positive offensive stats, that'd be 447.48 fantasy points, which would be the 3rd best fantasy season ever,
Yeah.
even beating Peyton Manning's record of 421.98. If you had the interceptions, it does drop below Manning, but it still would have been over 400 points.
Sorry, the interceptions is one of my favorite points to
Yes.
counter the touchdown.
He
thing.
will regress, folks. He will regress.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, his interception rate was a horrifying 3.9%, which was 4th worst in the league last year.
Just to put it into perspective, I made this comment on Monday's show. I'm just going to piggyback your points because I have the same ones. Rex Grossman, 3.8% for his career. Jay Cutler, 3.3% for his career. Blake Bortles, 2.9% for his career.
Yeah, and the only quarterbacks that were worse than him last year in terms of interception percentage was Simeon, Kaiser,
Oh, expected.
and Matt Moore.
Yep.
3 names that you
comment.
don't want to have on your roster.
And he would have had the second most interceptions in the league behind
Kaiser.
Kaiser if you put it out over a full season.
Yep. His touchdown rate was 9.3%, which would be the second best, tied for the second best season of all time.
With Peyton?
Peyton Manning has the best at 9.9% in 2004.
Yeah.
To put it into perspective, the career touchdown percentage, Peyton Manning, 5.7%, Drew Brees, 5.3%, Tom Brady, 5.5%.
So, and he's also coming off his second ACL tear.
Yep.
A second?
He had a chore one in college too.
Oh, okay. I forgot about that.
Other points I had on him, sack percentage would have ranked 8th in the league. Even with some regression, though, I think he did flash enough to be solid to good. I hate him in redraft. I hate him in redraft because his ADP is 309. He's going as a second quarterback behind Rodgers, and I will never own him at that.
Yeah, 309 shocked the fuck out of me.
Yeah, I will not be taking a quarterback at 309, much less Watson.
No, I'm not even thinking quarterback until round 6 or 7, and that's if somebody like an Aaron Rodgers falls.
Watson, I think for me, I think for all of us here, like for me, I think the earliest is 10. 10.
Yeah.
Which means I'll owe him
maybe late
nowhere.
9. Yeah, we won't own Watson.
Now, Dynasty, I like him a little bit more. He did flash enough. He did enough last season to quell what I didn't like about him coming out of college. I'm cautiously optimistic, but the price on him right now is going to be way too high.
He's been going the first quarterback overall in Dynasty startups.
Yeah.
What?
Nope.
First, if you own Deshaun Watson, sell him.
Yeah. Sell Deshaun Watson right now.
I'm dead
because
serious.
I don't think you will ever get a higher price for him.
I would rather own Wentz, Cousins, Winston.
Yeah.
I mean,
Those
Rodgers,
obviously
Wilson,
Rodgers.
Luck if he ever throws again.
Don't get me started on Luck.
Yep. And
But yeah, I've got him as a kind of back end mid, so like probably around QB 7 or 8 in Dynasty. For redraft, he's probably around QB 10 or 11.
He's the boom bust of QB. I think he's going to be the boom bust of QBs this year. If there is a boom bust,
no, Cam Newton is always a boom bust to QBs.
true.
Well, it's an even year, so he's going to be terrible this year, right?
He's terrible every year, in my opinion.
He's had 2 top 3 finishes in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and he did it off of like 4 games.
Somewhere Matt Hicks is cringing at all.
So let me put it this way:
Shout out
if
to
you're
top
playing in a
two
league like what Zach Bonner runs over in the Bull Rush stuff, where it's total points, great pickup. But last time I checked, in most head-to-head leagues, you can't take excess fantasy points with you to the next week, and that is why I hate Cam Newton.
There's no rollover points.
Well, except for your total points scored for tiebreakers.
Oh, that's great.
All right, but yeah, that's it for Watson. It's
But
just
who the hell's playing to tie?
he's being projected way too high. I'm trying to pull that back down a little bit. I think he's going to be really hotly debated. I think I'm going to be involved in a lot of those debates.
There's a lot of debates.
Oh, I will too. And I'm
There's a
gonna
lot of
destroy
experts that
every
have
one of
him
them.
as their QB1 this year.
This is my personal vendetta: is to drag Deshaun Watson back down to where he should be. Like Curtis Samuel and Cam Newton last year, it's Deshaun Watson this year.
So
So it's not
let's-
because I hate the player; it's because I hate how high he is.
and like that's to our point. We don't hate Deshaun Watson. We just don't like where he's being taken and why the upside is there. It's much, well, not the upside, but why he's going as a top 3 QB.
Hey,
It's not.
you'll need to be on YouTube for what I'm about to do. His ADP is too damn high.
You almost spilled your own beer. I would have not given you another one.
No.
You're done.
All right.
Cut off. Get out of the bar.
Actually, you probably don't have to be on YouTube. I'm assuming on the audio you just heard me punch the
You
table.
can probably hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if Watson was going around 12 in redraft, I would be all over as him as a buy. So it's just where he's going. That's
Yep.
strictly what this is.
He's going too high.
He's going too damn high.
Way too many question marks and short sample size for him to be going where he is. All right, that's enough about quarterbacks. Let's move on to running backs. Hopper, why don't you kick us off with Jordan Howard?
All right, so Jordan Howard is a guy that has a ton of question marks. So let me paint the picture for you. He's got 2,000-yard seasons, over 4.1 yards a carry last year on a woeful passing team with moderate receiving work. Offensive line for the Bears last year, the interior line. Kyle Long missed 6 games. That forced Cody Whitehair to play out of position. He's normally a center. He played every game, but he played guard for some of those when Kyle Long was out so they could get Garcia in and put their best line on the field. And Josh Sitton also missed 3 games. Very, very poor coaching and game scripts last year. We already covered that.
No more stretch plays for Howard.
Right. The things to like, he was 4th in breakaway runs, 14th in breakaway rate, 14th in evaded tackles, 10th in yards created. You've got a little bit of concern with Cohen taking passing work away from him, but I think the 30 targets he got last year is probably still somewhat reasonable. That's typically low end what you see for, for running backs.
If they never asked Howard to catch a pass, I honestly don't think I'd care that much.
To be fair, he did improve his catch rate by 20% last year over his rookie year, so he did get better in that regard.
So he went from horrendous to okay.
He went from horrendous to average. I mean, it's about what Zeke's is.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't hate on that too much. To me, he's very buy low, and he's kind of a redraft target because you look at what the Bears did. They drafted somebody to improve their offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
They improve the offense around him, which is going to force him from seeing less stacked box. And I don't have that percentage in front of me, but he may see more. Nick's looking it up, but he may see more light front because of Miller, because of Robinson, because of Burton, because of what they've added to that offense. It's gonna, and even if the percentages are different, it's going to open up the field for them. They're going to be able to pass the ball. This offense is going to be able to move better. So in redraft, I actually feel like I'm kind of high on Howard, even though there are some concerns. And in Dynasty, I think it's the same thing. I think as this offense goes, Jordan Howard is going to continue to go up, and I think that you see him be a pretty consistent back end RB1.
Yeah, I definitely like Howard a lot this year, and he's going to be kind of in that fringe RB1 because high-end running backs is starting to get a little crowded right now. But that does not diminish what Howard offers you as a back-end RB1 or a really, really nice RB2.
Especially in redraft where a ton of people are down on him right now.
Yeah, and I don't see it. How far? I haven't done any ADP deep diving for redraft. Where is he sitting?
Keep talking, I'll go look.
But yeah, he's definitely if he could fall into the mid-late second round, I would target him all day. That would be a fantastic with me.
So he is, what do we want?
I mean, because he was going back into round 1, early round 2 last year, and he paid up on that investment. He was a solid. He was a back end RB1 last year.
It was a little bit inconsistent. I owned him in our listener league, and he helped kind of carry my running back core when players started to get hurt. I love Jordan Howard. I love him this year. Like if he can continue to get better as a pass catcher, I think sky's the limit for him. If he struggles though in this offense, I expect to be more up tempo. Expect to be maybe even more no huddle as Trubisky gets better. I think Cohen fits that more, from a play or from a personnel standpoint. But Howard is a first and second down back, no question.
So
if he can get better as a pass catcher,
the closer we get to the season, I expect this to come down. Right now, he's 212 in PPR, 203 in standard.
203 that's
probably about right.
Standard.
That's probably about right for standard.
As far as half point 206, that's probably about right. But I expect as we get closer to the season, as people start painting their narratives, that's going to come down.
Especially when you get more casual fans coming in.
Yep.
And so for stack box percentage, I did find it here. He faced 43.12% 8+ in the box. That would be 7th highest in the league last year.
There you go. And when that clears out, because the Bears can actually pass the football, that's going to open up shit for Jordan Howard.
Yeah, Zeke faced less stacked boxes.
Yeah. It's because they didn't have anything else. It was just, all right, key on Jordan Howard.
Oh,
and he still had that breakaway rate that was top 15 and breakaway runs that were top 4.
No, as a pure 2-down runner, Howard is very good. I mean, basically what we're hoping for out of Geis and Nick Chubb is that they're just a little bit better versions of Jordan Howard.
Yep, I expect them both to be.
All right, Dan, you got Kenyon Drake, who we have never discussed on this show.
Never, not once. So this has
never been hot debates about Kenyon Drake.
This is a player that me and Hopper were in buy mode, I think, at the end of last year. I think when we talked about it, right when the season ended last year, this was a buy player for me. I absolutely love Kenyon Drake. It started to come down a little bit more throughout the season. He survived somewhat through free agency with just bringing in Frank Gore. I'm not getting into Kalen Ballage with that whole entire thing. But for redraft, it's not about him. It's more about the roles of Frank Gore and Kalen Ballage. I don't think Ballage's role is going to be very effective. It's much so in his rookie season, I'd see as a low-end pass catcher. Frank Gore, I think, is the true mystery here. And that is, for some reason, he tends to just stick around and be something.
I think after I looked at the numbers, I figured it out, and I'll go into it whenever you're done.
Okay.
But I think I have this figured out.
Okay. And then for redraft, it's not about him. It's about the role of Frank Gore and Kalen Ballage. And then can he continue on what he did last year at the end of last year? We saw with Ajayi 2 years ago. Didn't work out. He gets traded. You get Drake. You get Williams. Williams gets hurt. Drake explodes. Williams kept that role because he was a better pass blocker. I think going into this year, you can expect that Gore is probably the best pass blocker there, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ballage is terrible at it. I think Drake is
Jake
is very average and adequate at it. So in terms of Dynasty, moving on from that, is he the running back of the future for Miami? I think he has enough talent to be. I think his size is slightly undersized. He's around 6 foot, 6'1", 211. So the size may not help him in that regard, but he's there.
He's very fringe on size.
Yeah, and it's not even just him. It's with Adam Gase on the hot seat, I think if he has a down year this year, which I expect Miami to have a bad year this year, I expect Gase to get fired.
They're going to be a dumpster fire.
And so if Gase gets let go, you change the whole coaching staff. Like even if Drake has a good year, he may not be the running back of the future. As we see with most quarterbacks, most coaching staffs wants to bring in their own guys. And this is where my whole thing with Drake comes from. Is I love Drake as a talent. Does Miami love Drake as a talent?
They do. Well, not they do, but yes, coaching staffs want to bring in their own talent, but you're still going to inherit what you got.
Yes.
Kalen Ballage is not more than a passing down back. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, and I'll support that here in a minute, not just from his combine numbers.
Yeah.
Frank Gore is not long for this league for very long.
Theoretically.
For Dynasty, no. But like this is just my point for redraft. And it's Frank Gore. I know he was bad for Indy. He was less than 4 yards per carry for Indy.
Redraft, I'm less worried about Gase getting fired and a new coaching staff bringing in somebody because that's a lot harder to do in the middle of the year.
Well, I know. And this is my point for Drake redraft. It was just what is the role of Gore and Ballage going to be? I
got it.
Okay.
I think I got it anyway.
All right.
So first off, Drake creates for himself, and you can't ignore that.
Nope.
He was 21st in yards created, and keep in mind that's total yards created. He only started the last 4 games without competition. I'm pretty sure it was 4. I'm making that up. He only started the last.
It was a little bit more.
He only started the last couple of games without competition after Damian Williams got hurt, and he was 21st in total yards created. He was 4th in yards created per carry. He destroyed base and light front, 7th and 5th respectively, 5th in breakaway percentage, 7th in juke rate, had a positive production premium on a terrible team. He's put up solid efficiency numbers both years in the league, but where you look at his red flags, he's only got a 66% catch rate, so his hands are a little bit worse. That's where Kalen Ballage comes into play because he is a good pass catcher, and Ballage in space is a lot better than Ballage between the tackles. Ballage between the tackles is shit. He has no vision. He has no balance. But if you put him in space, you can get him to work. And he's a big guy. That's where the Damian Williams comparison comes in play for me. And Frank Gore, what's the other thing Drake struggles against? Stacked fronts. What's Frank Gore traditionally been good against? Stack fronts and short yardage. I see clearly defined roles for these 3 running backs. Now, with Gore getting goal line, that does take touchdown upside away from Kenyon Drake, which puts him down as an RB2 for me.
Okay.
But in redraft, I see clearly defined roles. In Dynasty, given Miami's roster right now, Drake has a chance from what we've seen to be the guy.
Which is why I bought him in the rookie draft.
If he can improve his pass catching, he has a chance to be the guy. Will he be? I don't know. But from what I've seen for the first 2 years, he hasn't shown me anything to think he can't be.
So, I mean, and the question is going to be whenever Gore is gone, which I expect is after just 1 year here, who's the other person who's in that role? Because that is going to be... that'll dramatically shake up Drake's value.
Just one thing that Drake hasn't really done yet.
Ballage is a big guy. You could use him there.
Just one thing that Drake really hasn't done yet, though.
You don't buy that for a second.
No, I don't.
Like in that, when 2 years ago they brought in Arian Foster. Arian Foster didn't work out. He got hurt. He retired. Whatever. That entire running back field was up for grabs. He lost it to Ajayi. Ajayi, as you guys stated, is a better running back than Drake.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the fence with that, but.
Well, it was Ajayi's second year, Drake's rookie year,
yes,
and Ajayi has always been a type of hard between the tackles, carry people with you, a tough runner. He's a different style than Drake.
Yeah, and then you get last year, they traded Ajayi, you get Drake coming, clear defined roles. Drake was more of the first, second down back. Williams was I don't know if he was a better pass catcher, but he was far and wide a better pass blocker.
Better pass blocker.
So who knows if Williams doesn't get hurt, we think that Drake at least takes more of the touches, but Williams has the more defined role. With Williams gone, you get your question marks with Gore, you get your question marks with Ballage.
No, I figured
just
it
for
out.
redraft. You figured it out, which is fantastic, which is what makes this point mute kind of for me. But it's what will we see through OTAs, through training camp, and then through preseason. What happens with even a guy like Ballage who could get more of a role.
So just to put a bow on this,
sorry.
How many touches are you guys seeing for Drake?
I didn't put touches to count on this.
I would say
I try to go
probably in the 190 range.
So a little under 200?
A little under 200.
That's fair.
Okay, because last year he was at 160.
Okay. That's fair. Also,
was
you
true.
get rid of Ajayi mid-season, you split them. Yeah, 190 to 200, I think is fair for me.
All right.
You give Kalen Balaj 110, maybe.
I figured it'd be about 80, 90 for Balaj and
Yeah.
probably 100 to 110
Gore's
for Gore.
Gore's always been the wild card for me. Like Balaj, like I just said, for for redraft for rookie season, I don't expect more than just a pass catching work. Gore is the wild card for me.
Let me put it this way: if they're smart about it, Gore's short yardage only.
They're smart.
If they're smart, there's no reason to run a 35-year-old running back out here on this team. You need to see what
They
you
didn't
have
need to sign him in the first place.
in Kenyon Drake. No, he went home. It was.
Yeah.
I think it was a sentimental thing, which. Don't know why, but it was. But you don't need to see what you have in a 35-year-old running back who's not going to be a future of your team. I don't know why you signed him. You're not going to compete. That signing made no sense.
All right. Well, thanks, Dan, for all yours taking forever to discuss.
Well,
Let's move on to
I bring down the good players to discuss.
let's move on to Derrick Henry.
Let's
Yeah,
go to Derrick
sure.
Henry. This will be fun.
All right. So Derrick Henry comes in here with his hype train has definitely cooled down
As it should.
with the Deion Lewis signing, thankfully. But even still, some people are projecting him as a mid-tier running back too. So let's look at the positives and negatives here of Derrick Henry. 220 touches are gone with DeMarco Murray leaving.
Breaking news.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrence Williams was arrested in Frisco, Texas early Saturday morning on charges of public intoxication.
Well, good. Maybe Terrence Williams.
Maybe
Maybe
he'll-
finally to move on from him.
Maybe he'll be gone.
With the Hearns and
we
Gallup
can
show.
only hope.
Okay, continue. Sorry, I hate Terrence Williams. So anything that's bad against Terrence Williams, I
Breaking
want to get in the
news.
show.
We all.
We
I
all
mean, I don't
appreciate
hate
it.
him personally. I just hate him getting targets.
Wait,
Yes.
hold on. Wait, I did that wrong. Hold on, I got something cool coming, guys. Terrence Williams.
There it is.
I forgot I keep the drops turned down to prevent the buzzing.
I understand.
Okay, we can continue now. Back to Derrick Henry.
Yes.
And now back to regular scheduled programming.
So the Titans are ditching exotic smash mouth, so they should get a more balanced offense. Henry will not be seeing 43% of his stacked boxes this year, theoretically. So he should see a similar situation to Howard, where it should be more open running lanes for him. So that's the positives we're looking at here. Unfortunately, in terms of his production, he's averaged 4.5 yards per carry or less in both seasons. Only 11 total touchdowns on 310 total touches. He hasn't exactly done a great job, and it's behind a really good offensive line there. And then Deion Lewis comes in, gets paid. So I think Henry's capped at about 220 total touches this year, unless Lewis gets hurt.
I think Deion Lewis is more talented than Derrick Henry.
I agree.
I agree.
Fight me on it.
No,
Twitter
I
world.
agree
I don't
completely.
care.
I see Derrick Henry run it. I'm like,
For
for
some reason, he gets more yards than he should.
He looks slow. But yeah, they brought in Deion Lewis, and then you can't forget that there's the two good UFA backs, and one of them's going to catch on, or UDFA backs, and one of them's going to catch on, and Wadley and Rose. His efficiency numbers took a hit last year when he got more attempts. He went from 4.5 down to 4.1, and he's never been a great receiver. He looks, like I said, he looks slow when he's running, and the Titans clearly don't believe in him as an every down back.
Which is good because I don't believe in him either.
The front office does not believe in Derrick Henry as an every down back.
So thankfully, the front office agreed with me. We were pounding that hype train to sell Henry immediately.
I
So,
still love Deion Lewis here.
I would rather draft
Because
Deion
he's done
Lewis
an
than
every
Derrick
down.
Henry.
Like
I
he's
own
on a
Deion
true every
Lewis,
down
and I'm
back.
happy about it.
Like he's on a true every down back. But as we just stated, I think he's more talented than Derrick Henry.
I mean, he had 210 touches last year. That's
It's-
decently
yeah.
That's decent usage.
And that's with not being the main guy at the first few weeks there.
Now he'll do more with what he's got.
As he
So,
always done when he's healthy.
So yeah, he's currently coming in projected as a mid RB2 in both redraft and dynasty, and I would definitely have him closer to a mid RB3 in both. I just do not trust Derrick Henry. I have not seen anything from him that would make me believe in him. This is just something people seem to really want to happen, and I'm kind of on
these are the people that that took Derrick Henry in rookie drafts 2 years ago, and they're like, "Come on, man, let's go. It's his fucking time." DeMarco Murray's gone. He was super blocking it. No, he didn't fucking block Henry. Henry blocked himself.
And Dan was literally pounding the table there if you're not watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
So please watch on YouTube.
I didn't want to
Fantasy
smash
Football.
beers around this time.
I
Like,
appreciate that.
No risk.
All right. Anything else on Derrick Henry?
No.
Yeah, I figured that would be a pretty straight discussion, but I think we're gonna have a lot of debates on that with other people this summer.
We will.
So keep an eye on us for other podcasts.
Who
We're
liked it from Loda Box? Was it Ben that liked?
Ben was stupid high on Derrick Henry.
Yep, and we apologize to him, and we have to retract that apology.
Sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry.
All right, Le'Veon Bell in Dynasty.
Yeah, I'm upping the degree of difficulty here, and this is almost purely contract situation based. But let's talk about the performance for a minute. His run efficiency was the worst last year that it has ever been. Now, we talked on Monday about regression to the mean. That's likely to come back up, but it's something to definitely take note of. His yards per reception was down year over year. Didn't have a ton of breakaway runs. He was pretty bad against stack fronts. So there are some negatives starting to show up with Le'Veon Bell. Ultimately, he is only 26. I don't think the Steelers re-signed him, though, with this contract situation. It's been too much of a year in, year out, buttheads clusterfuck for me to think that he gets re-signed there long term. So to me, when that contract's up, he could be a prime buy low guy for a contending team that needs a guy for their window of 2 to 3 years because he is still only 26 years old. But ultimately, if you're a rebuilding team, I think you need to sell him. I'm not concerned about him in redraft. This conversation is purely dynasty based. But if you're a rebuilding team, I think you need to sell him. We've seen before when running backs and good running backs go to new teams, they don't necessarily perform as well. Now, granted, that usually happens after they cross the 30 barrier, but there's some red flags here. And the contract situation is not promising, which means his situation is not promising with the glut of young running back infused talent and what we know Le'Veon Bell's demands have been. I think that unless you're competing to win a title this year or next year, you get out from under that.
I mean, I've been hyping, since I think right after the season ended when we did our buy, sell, hold segments on these guys. Le'Veon Bell was a sell for the same reasons that, for back then, like, is he going to get his contract? Like, he's going to get, is he going to get paid? Is he going to be in Pittsburgh for long term? That was put to squash, at least for redraft purposes for this year, as he signed a franchise tag. But as Hopper's, alluded to, for dynasty wise, you still want to move on from Bell if you're not contending. If he's going to get a shit ton of touches this year.
And there's people out there who value him as a tier 1 startup player in dynasty. I
think he's tier 2.
Yeah.
I'm in tier 3.
Yeah.
I've got him below guys like, I would have him below Elliott, below Barkley, below Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Gurley, Beckham, Hopkins, all those guys.
There's a lot of tier 1 players there.
With his contract demands, he could blackball himself out of the league.
Yeah, or he's going to end up playing in a bad situation for a team that wants to pay him. Like, he could end up in Miami next year.
Yeah.
You want to see what could happen? You see Adrian Peterson last year. He demanded a high pay contract, which he didn't get. And he had to take the best offer available to him, far beyond free agency. Like, he went to a crowded Saints backfield at that point.
Then he didn't get carries, and he got jettisoned to Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, and it wasn't a situation where he wasn't used correctly. They could be in a situation where either Bell's not going to see enough touches to get the production because he's made his hay on just being fed the ball an unbelievable number of times.
He's made it.
Especially in the receiving game with targets. And if you get a team that doesn't believe in that philosophy, or that has a bunch of wide receiver mouths to feed,
or another good receiving back.
Yeah.
Well, Bell's also a little bit unique. Like, he's someone that, like, when it comes to patience, there's not a back that's quite like him. Like, when you watch Bell run, it's pretty remarkable for the fact that he looks like he's jogging the first few yards as he waits for his blockers to set up, and he's smart enough to know which lanes to run through. But he's not super fast. Like you guys just said, he makes his hay based on his touches. And his yards per carry went down to a staggering low since rookie year.
It was 4.0, and I think it was because of the offensive line. And I almost wonder if Bell needs a good offensive line because of that patience, because he waits for lanes to develop. And if they don't develop, oh shit, it's too late.
And let's not forget, he's got Antonio Brown. He's got Ben Roethlisberger. He's got
Bryant before. He's got Juju.
Juju now. Like, he's got people around him that's going to help him not face against stacked boxes. If Bell gets his touches, he's fine. But Bell could end up being, kind of like the backwards, Lamar Miller, where he's worse with less than he is with more.
If he lands in a spot where he's only getting 280 touches, his value drops significantly. Like, that's a high number of touches for a lot of players, but that'd be a major drop for Bell.
But this is a great, this is a great player to bring up for Hopper. Like, bringing him up, like, this is in a weird dynasty point for guys like Bell, where he, like, for running backs, you're kind of entering the back end of their prime.
That's why I wanted to talk about him, because he's an interesting
fantastic player to bring up.
No, I mean, if you're in a window where you're like, I'm going for titles in the next 2 or 3 years, he's
absolutely own him. He's a hold.
But yeah, because I don't think he's worth buying at this point in any situation. But
I'm even nervous after this year if they don't re-sign him.
He could be
like you say 2 to 3 year window. I'm saying maybe 1 to 2 because if he's gone after Pittsburgh, it's like where does he land?
No, I don't know where he lands, but if you're in a title contending situation, you would still just hold him and say, I'll take the risk.
I get that, yeah.
And that's because of his age and prime years.
Yeah.
Last is why I said 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I get you there.
I mean, especially with his usage, though, he's not going to hold up after 30.
No.
Apologies for the vibration.
Good vibration now.
All right. Anything else on Le'Veon Bell?
No. Go ahead.
All right. Let's talk about CMC.
So for me, I just completely closed out my notes. No, I didn't. So I picked Christian McCaffrey for dynasty purpose. I think for redraft is pretty safe. They brought in, CJ Anderson. He's going to fill the same role as he filled in last year with Jonathan Stewart. Redraft, I'm fine with him. He's going to be in the same, basically value him as you valued him last year.
As a mid to high RB2.
It's a mid to high RB2. For dynasty, though, is where things I think get murky for me. He's in a perfect situation now where the team invested in him. He was a 108 pick last year. A lot of first round investment to him there. They bring in CJ Anderson after free agency had went through their high point, well after the draft. We thought that he had finally made it out of there. Now, do the Panthers want to invest in him long term as just a third down back plus? Because that's what he is right now. He's basically, as you stated before, Nick, as a Danny Woodhead plus type of player.
No, that's Hopper.
Well, somebody did here. Is he worth more than just a 3-down back role? And for what his probably price is going to command, it's going to be more. So he could be leaving Carolina in 2 to 3 years. He gets the fifth-year option, which is great for him because.
So it's 3 to 4 years.
Yes, and then you bring in C.J. Anderson, who is younger than Jonathan Stewart. I think he's 27 right now.
Sounds right.
He's in that lull year where we don't quite know what he's going to be with Carolina. They signed him to a 1-year deal. If he does well this year, C.J. Anderson will stick on, and then he will cap CMC's upside for the future. But if he struggles and they move on from him, are we going to continue to go through the same type of lull where the Panthers don't want to invest in CMC as a long-term 3-down back, but keep trying to bring on these 1-2 down or these first, second down bruiser backs, diminishing his value year after year?
So basically, your point is that with it being a 1-year deal for Anderson, we don't know.
We don't know what CMC's role is going to be long-term. Like you're not going to pay for I get it. Maybe Danny Woodhead during his prime years with San Diego, you may have gotten a first-round pick for him. Like if you're a championship team, maybe you want to try to invest in that because he gets a lot of targets. CMC, you may just get that, but you're never going to get more than just a third-down role from him, potentially.
No.
I don't think Carolina trusts him to be that, and that's where he got drafted as a top 4.
Why do you not think they trust him to be that? Just because they gave a 1-year deal to CJ Anderson?
Because they decided to wait till afterwards to try to bring
it was obvious they weren't going to roll with the team they had. They needed another running back.
They did need another running back.
But then they could have just, went along with Cam and Artis Payne at this point. Could have just been a filler.
That would have been a terrible idea.
It would have been, but why do you need either of them if you believe in CMC as a 3-down back instead of just depth? So, why do you bring in a starting caliber running back like CJ Anderson is?
They got him for dirt cheap on a 1-year deal. So
it's his own prove-it deal. So if CJ Anderson actually produces this year, then now you have a capped CMC upside, a capped CJ Anderson upside with defined roles. Yes. Like for me is that people view people may view CMC as a guy who could be potentially more than just a 3-down back.
See, I don't.
Third down back.
I think the people for me, the CJ Anderson signing did nothing to my valuation of CMC because I didn't view him any differently
redraft,
before and
I agree,
after.
but I think for Dynasty,
even in Dynasty, it did not shift the needle at all.
It didn't change the needle for me at all either because I only viewed him as a 3rd-down back, and bringing in CJ Anderson just reaffirmed that.
Yeah, for me,
which was well documented for me.
Yeah,
for me, I have him projected as a consistent running back 2 with some low-end running back 1 upside.
Here's the thing about Christian McCaffrey for me, and I looked into this and I wanted to make a point. So, yes, I have questions about his durability if he's ever used between the tackles. I added DJ Moore, the return of Olsen, that's going to hurt his touches in redraft. As they build the offense, I don't know that he's going to be a focal point. He's going to have the same opportunity from year one. In fact, no running back has ever had multiple 110-plus target seasons. There's only 13 guys that have had one. Of those, only Reggie Bush and Darren Sproles were role players, and they were both with New Orleans, who's a team that passes a lot more than what Carolina's going to. So I would not expect his rookie season to reproduce at all in his career ever. And it's a rarity. But as far as PPR upside goes, with them having weapons around him and with Cam Newton as their quarterback, I do not think he sees 110 plus touches again.
No, he'll see 110 touches.
Targets.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I agree with you. I don't think he will see 110 targets again because that was a terrible way to run that offense.
But this is
running back 2 in PPR and in half PPR is solid projection for him.
With potential low-end RB1 upside if he gets a few extra
This whole
touchdowns.
conversation proves the point of the fact where it's hard to value CMC, which is the whole point of this segment, is it's some people are going to view him as more. You draft him at the 108 in an actual draft. You don't take a running back there to just be a third down pass catching back.
No,
they view
him as a dynamic offensive weapon. That's what they view him as.
He's an OW, not a between the tackles guy. He's an OW.
Yeah, they don't view him as a third down back. I think they're going to find ways to get him out there even more this season on first and second down, but it won't be behind the quarterback.
So it's like a slot receiver.
Keep in mind, they drafted Curtis Samuel the next round.
Yes, which was retarded.
Yeah.
So let's just consider the decision-making process of the higher-ups in Carolina.
There's a reason.
Which has now changed.
There's a reason he's no longer the GM.
Exactly.
So, like I said, it's a good conversation to bring up because CMC's value, some people view him as a high upside, a high upside potential 3-down back.
He's not.
And he's not.
No, as we talked about when the CJ Anderson signing happened, that didn't move the needle for us at all. He is going to be. I love him because he's super in Dynasty. I love him because he's super young, and I think he's going to be very consistent throughout his career. He'll be a every year running back too, which is super valuable,
especially in half PPR and full PPR formats.
But I don't think if anyone views him as a potential top 6 running back, they're out of their minds.
It's not going to happen.
All right, moving on to Joe Mixon, which I felt I had to bring up because I've had so many arguments with people online about him recently. I think people are just getting real short-sighted on rookies, and if they don't produce immediately, they're just
done.
Especially running backs.
Immediately fall into this. So if you look at let's do the con side first on him. If you look at his stats, it's a real ugly picture. It's 3.5 yards a carry, 3 fumbles, 4 touchdowns, and over 200 touches. I mean, the whole offense was super anemic, and he was a big piece of that. For the positives, the tape was awesome coming out of college. Even his tape in the NFL has looked good. He's made guys miss in the backfield or made plays that he had no business making just with his pure talent. But that offensive line was atrocious. Thankfully, the Bengals were kind enough to add a new center and left tackle for him to try to improve that up.
I was going to point that out. Billy Price and Cordy Glenn.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just the type of guy where all the metrics and tape and everything show that he should be a very successful back here in the NFL. And the fact that Gio and Mark Walton are there do not freak me out. I've had people trying to downplay Mixon because they spent a 4th-round pick on Mark Walton. And I just don't see it whatsoever.
It's a complimentary piece.
I think he's going to be a borderline RB1 in redraft, and he is an RB1 for me in Dynasty.
If you go wide receiver heavy early, he is a great 3rd, 4th round running back pickup.
In every
redraft.
In every draft, people there's going to be at least 3 or 4 people in your league that hate Mixon. So Mixon's going to end up sliding.
And he's a good get.
We all love Mixon here. We all love his upside. We all love the tape we saw last year. We all loved it, the flashes on tape he showed us in the NFL last year behind a horrendous offensive line, as Nick just mentioned. He is a complete buy for me in Dynasty at this point, and
yeah, he would be for me too, except the only 2 leagues I'm in where I don't own him.
I own him in one.
You have him in both. You have him in the Superflex League too.
That's what I do. I have him in 2 leagues.
In Dynasty for Mixon, let's not forget, talent-wise, he may have been the best running back in last year's class.
He's the most balanced, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of he's an amazing
all-around back. Yes.
He's an amazing pass catcher, and apparently he shed weight this year, so he's trying to kind of do that Le'Veon Bell thing where he gets a little lighter, a little bit quicker. But yeah, pretty much my only concern with them is the fact that their coach is still Marvin Lewis. If they'd brought in a new coach, I'd feel even better.
It's not even Mixon. It's everything around him.
Be Marvin Lewis, unfortunately.
So yeah, that's just a quick.
He's going to die the Bengals head coach.
I don't want to go into Joe Mixon too much because our love of his talent has been expressed in the show a lot.
It's been well documented.
He's a guy I think there's going to be a lot of arguments about this summer, and we are all on the high side of that argument.
We're on track to run way long.
All right, so let's do a beer review.
We're 55 minutes into this thing.
Beer review.
All right, so in case you forgot over the last 50 minutes, we're reviewing New Holland Brewing's Dragon Milk Reserve. It's a bourbon barrel stout with cherry chocolate flavoring to it. What do you guys think of the first New Holland we've had on the show?
You know, for being 11%, it doesn't taste like it's 11%. You get some of the vanilla-y, oaky bourbon flavors out of it. The cherry is definitely prominent on the back end.
And then just a hint of chocolate.
There's a hint of chocolate there, but the cherry is more prominent on the back end than any other cherry chocolate I've had. I think Bell's did a cherry chocolate bourbon barrel aged as well.
That was delicious too.
Which is also delicious. The cherry is more prominent in this, though.
It definitely hits like 11%. I can totally feel it.
Yeah.
Halfway through this episode, I'm like, holy shit.
Halfway through this hour-long episode because we're getting intoxicated, so we're arguing more.
Yep.
Well, and this is also a divisive episode. I thought this would be a fun one. I maybe should have pared the players down slightly.
Yeah, it's fun, but this is going to be long.
All right. So anyone who's still listening, we apologize to the long episode. We've been doing better about that mostly, but
this is not going to be one of them.
We'll
make the receivers and tight ends go a little bit quicker then.
Okay.
We'll try to.
We'll see.
I'll see that when I believe it.
Yeah. I'll see it when I believe it.
All right, Dan, kick us off with the Marius Thomas.
So it's not both, just redrafts. Normally, while he's over the last couple of years, it's been just Thomas and Sanders. So the lack of competition for any targets has been mute for the most part. This year, they bring in Case Keenum. They finally get a competent quarterback, probably the best they've had since the second to last year for Peyton Manning. But then they also bring in Cortland Sutton. They also drafted Deshaun Hamilton. They also get a healthy Carlos Henderson back, and then Jake Butt. Obviously, a lot of those players are not going to receive a huge role, but Cortland Sutton could. I know we don't want to talk about rookies getting huge massive roles. We talked about that on Monday's episode. Don't read into rookies being drafted. I think at this point, because Nick mentioned even that Cortland Sutton is kind of like his player comp is Demaryius Thomas. You talk about a player who could get cut though too. It won't be Sanders. Sanders' contract won't see him get cut this year. If you're going to cut anybody, it's going to be Thomas at this point, which is pretty small.
Neither of them really have an out until after this year.
Yeah, their out is
they're both there.
They can save $8.5 million this year, but their dead cap is $4.5. Thomas it does change after next year to be more cap friendly. I don't expect any of them to be cut. The reason I brought this up is that Thomas doesn't have to deal with any competition. Now he gets a good quarterback, so the upside's there. It's just where do you view him as? Like he was a wide receiver, like he was a back and wide receiver one at the end of last year, or not end of last year, but going into last year draft. This year, I think people have cooled down on him a little bit more. You bring in Keenum, there's a little more upside to that as a quarterback, and now you bring in a little more competition.
He's still a high end 2 to me, which is where I had him at last year. Also, you get Keenum in there that will use him. He's a better quarterback than Simeon was, and I still think that
I agree.
He's the guy this year. I think that if you're trying to put your best receiving core out there, Sanders is in the slot, Sutton's on the other side, and Thomas is there, and Thomas is more experienced. And Sutton, he's super talented, but he's also super raw. So, and redraft to me, I don't think there's much of a question on Demaryius Thomas. He's a guy I'm more than happy to have as a wide receiver 2 on my team.
Well, and he's going at 4.11 right now, so you can definitely grab him as a wide receiver 2.
3 in some
I
ways.
would love that.
Heavy. I'm not saying like for this one, I wasn't expecting to use a lot of arguments out of it. It was just I see it. There could be something.
Yeah, I think people are going to be cooler on him, but I still think, as we saw from ADP there, he's still going to
4.11 value is not bad not bad at all for Thomas.
But I mean, even if I was real high on him, I wouldn't want to push him that much higher. Probably early 4th at the earliest.
Yeah, early 4th, late 3rd for me.
Yeah, I'm much happier with him in the mid to late
instead
4th.
Of the mid second last year.
All right, Alshon Jeffrey.
All right, so Alshon Jeffrey is very interesting to me, especially in Philly. They paid him for starters. You saw him start to develop some chemistry with Wentz, and then with Foles in the playoffs, he showed out. He 12 for 219 and 3 over 3 games. His catch rate was stupid low. It was 8 points off of his average, off of his career average. So you expect that to come back to the mean. 21.6% target share was pretty good. He had a ton of uncatchable targets, though. This all suggests to me that it was just a chemistry thing when he got there, which got better as the year went on. I think he is kind of in that Demaryius Thomas tier for me, which he was last year, as far as a guy that can be a wide receiver too with one upside. He hasn't really missed a ton due to injury. I know that we were on Dynasty Go. Another shout out to go listen to that. Memphis had mentioned that he missed a ton due to injury, but really, he missed 6 games his rookie year. He missed 7 in 2015. Other than that, he's been beat up, but he hasn't really missed games. It's kind of the Julio Jones
He's
thing.
played through injury, so he's been constantly on injury reports, but he's generally suited up.
He's generally played. So down numbers in several below average years, but you got to remember the last couple of years that the Bears were just on ugly teams are the only concern, but the potential is still there. I love him in this offense, and I think it is also like Demaryius Thomas. If I can get him as a second wide receiver on my team with the third guy that's a little bit more safe, I'm going to love it with Alshon Jeffrey. But there's definitely some red flags there as far as performance goes. But the upside I don't think has ever gone away for Jeffrey, and I think the chemistry started to develop at the end of last year as far as redraft goes.
Yep.
And Dynasty.
In redraft, would you take Jeffrey or Thomas?
Jeffrey.
Thomas.
All right. Well, Jeffrey's going at 406, so Hopper's getting the better value there.
Mm-hmm. They're two players that I evaluate about the same. So
I would definitely have them in the same tier, so I agree with that. But yeah, Jeffrey, I think I've seen some hate on him this offseason, and I don't really get it. I still think he's easily a wide receiver, too.
I do, too.
All right. Mike Williams is the one I wanted to bring up here just because second-year player, we basically lost his entire rookie season to a neck injury, finished with 23 targets, only 11 receptions, just basically not used. And I honestly wasn't a real big fan of the landing spot when he got drafted at 107 there to the Chargers because I didn't know why they needed to take a receiver there when there were so many other holes
Especially
in
that
this team.
high.
I'm still very lukewarm on this. I went back and looked at Phillip Rivers' career across 4 offensive coordinators and 2 head coaches. Second wide receivers in that offense have gone 71 targets for 40 receptions, 645 and 4, which isn't bad, but it's not great. That's wide receiver 3 numbers. Wide receiver 3-4 numbers. And Keenan Allen, as long as Rivers there, I think is going to be the target hog. But you have to remember also that on those teams, you had LaDainian Tomlinson, you had Darren Sproles, you had Antonio Gates that were all pulling, 80, 90, 100 targets plus in most of those seasons, which bodes well for Hunter Henry. But, Mike Williams, what is his upside? Is it some of the better seasons that Michael Floyd had, some of those 80 targets for 50 receptions and 700 to 800 yards?
I mean, I think he's more talented, and I think he's a better he's going to be a better red zone threat than Michael Floyd.
Malcolm Floyd, sorry.
Malcolm Floyd,
not
yeah.
Michael.
Yeah. Michael's in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's definitely some upside questions there. He still has to fight with Benjamin Henry and Tyrell Williams for targets. Allen is going to get minimum 140 targets as long as he's healthy and probably more than that. So there's definitely some question marks about how much he can just even do in this offense. But on the flip side, his ADP is currently wide receiver 72.
Yeah, and he's got the upside, especially as a third wide receiver flex option, I think, in redraft. And ultimately, I'm not intimately familiar with Keenan Allen's contract situation. He's not old. He's not in danger of washing out.
Let's pull it up.
He's on his second deal, I know.
I think he's in his mid to late 20s for a wide receiver. So
26.
So he's got 5-6 years left in his prime, generally speaking, for wide receivers. Usually about 31, 32, you see wide receivers start to fall off.
He's got 2 years left on his deal. They have an easy out in the second year, though.
His out would be after this season.
I don't know that
if there's an out.
I don't know that they take it unless Rivers retires and they go into full rebuild, though.
But yeah, so Michael Williams is kind of an interesting situation. I do think the hate on him has gone too far. As I said, in redraft, his ADP, it puts him at wide receiver 72. I've seen redraft rankings where he's been worth a mid-second round pick in trades.
In Dynasty, we talked about this earlier the other day or whatever. That in Dynasty, I think that you got to like him as a bench stash or as a throw-in piece to some trade deals or whatever to try and get a guy that has high upside. As far as when that will be recognized, I don't know because of Keenan Allen. And because of Phillip Rivers and what's the deal after Rivers, there's a lot of question marks there as far as long-term value goes. But I think if you bet on him as not to be your guy, but to be as a second or third wide receiver, you're probably pretty safe.
Yeah, and he's coming in. He's going to turn 24 this year. He's younger than Calvin Ridley coming into his second season.
He's younger. He's big. He's got all the capital in the world. It's just being in the Chargers system, I think
right
he's
now.
capped.
He's capped. But there is a lot of upside as a wide receiver too there. What is his role going to be? Is he going to be the third option behind Hunter Henry and Keenan Allen? Is he going to be more of a red zone threat? Is he going to see? Because he's a perfect, like he's a great complement to Keenan Allen. Because Keenan Allen's that possession, intermediate to short kind of gain. That's where he thrives in. While with Williams, you can work the intermediate to downfield with his size and his ability with positioning.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say is I don't think Allen's his biggest threat. I think it's actually Henry.
Yeah, I think Allen's locked in to what he's going to get, and I think Henry, just because of Rivers, who loved Antonio Gates and Hunter Henry being a thing, I think Hunter Henry. I agree. I think Hunter Henry is the second option on this team. Mm-hmm. And then Melvin Gordon has some passing upside. He's not LT. Justin Jackson comes in, who we know is a really good pass catcher.
They still have Eckler.
They have Eckler. So to me, I still think his upside is probably, as long as things stay relatively consistent, probably 70 targets, 50 receptions, around 700 yards, and 5 or 6 touchdowns on the good side.
Yeah, if he does that this year, I'm probably happy with it.
Yeah, and that's wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. That's what I'm saying. You don't bet on him to be your 1, but if you bet on him to be a guy who's around where we're valuing Demaryius Thomas or Alshon Jeffrey in 2 to 3 years, I think that's fair.
All right. Des Bryant.
So this one's kind of a cheat because he hasn't been signed yet. So in terms of, I did both. So for redraft, you can just say, landing spot matters, obviously. Wherever he lands, he could be a 1 or a 2. But wherever he lands, his role in that team is going to be, like if he would have landed in Baltimore, which was a hot team right away, they tried to offer him a 3-year deal. He would have been in competition with Crabtree for the 1 and 2 role. Like the 1 and 2 role would have been theirs. It's who was the 1, who was the 2, who would have known. But like had he gone to a team like San Francisco, where he could be the clear 1, there could be something there. And then for dynasty purposes, to kind of piggyback off of this, if Dez has a strong 2018 season and he did what Jeffrey did last year and bet on himself and it worked, like I think Dez really wants to be, or Dez, I think Dez, sees himself as a guy who's a 4 to 5 year guy still. He's trying to slim down. He's trying to redefine his route running, basically do what Fitz did when he moved into the slot role to kind of prolong his career. So this is where the value kind of comes from, is Dez just a 1-year buy for dynasty, or for redraft? Is there, where does that value train start for him?
So Daniel Bryan, can you help me out here on my thoughts on Dez Bryant? Oh yes, I can. No! That sums up my thoughts on Dez Bryant in redraft and in dynasty. I don't like it.
Okay.
I do like hearing. That's the first I've heard though from you. I'm going to double back on this a little bit, because the only notes I had written down is just no in capital letters. But I am going to double back on this a little bit, because you did mention he's trying to redefine his route running and slimming down a little bit. That's good news to me.
Yeah.
Because that's what he needs to do. He needs to realize that he's an aging receiver that cannot rely on raw physical talent anymore, because he doesn't have it.
Nope.
He needs to redefine himself as a route runner, as a guy that is skilled to his craft, like Fitzgerald did, to really prolong his career and to be a viable option someplace. And there's not a lot of interest. He wants a revenge thing. He wants to go to New York. He wants to play for the Giants. That's been reported by multiple outlets. So he wants to play second fiddle to Odell in an offense that has Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard and Saquon Barkley, to where he would not be the guy for revenge.
So,
and to me, that limits his upside, and his upside, the tepid interest in when he was released, limits it to dynasty too. Landing spot matters. We're not done with that after draft season, but
it'll just get said slightly less.
I am very tepid on Dez Bryant.
Let's also not forget that 2 years ago, he was a top 5 receiver. Like, obviously, this is a guy who lived off of his athletic ability, ability to create.
Antonio Romo.
Yeah. So with Dak, he obviously didn't, I think the chemistry wasn't quite there, and obviously Dak isn't a guy who's going to take chances. He's not a gunslinger, so he needs a gunslinger type of mentality there. So even if he goes to Houston with Watson, which we've talked enough about, there's a lot of roles where it seems like Dez would be a wide receiver 2 on an offense.
If he redefines himself, I like him more.
Yeah.
So I'm just kiboshing this conversation. He hasn't signed with anybody.
That's why I
don't
say it's
care.
kind of a cheat. But it's still like you can still talk about it because he can, like, when he does sign, there's gonna be a lot of conversation to that.
And we'll talk about that when he signs.
Well, I'm still gonna bring it up now. So
Yeah.
because
as right now, I can't project shit because I have no idea where he's
I
going to
have
be.
no idea what team's going to
Yeah.
invest in him, especially with his desire to be in the same division as the Cowboys.
And I'm not going to deep dive all 31 other teams to figure out where the
Well,
fuck
I didn't
where
need
he's
to
gonna be.
deep dive. I just wanted to bring it up.
Murray Cooper.
So Amari Cooper, he started his career with 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons before his down years. Yards per game was down. That offense as a whole was down, which to me says it's an offense problem. Crabtree's gone. He's not going to have to fight him in the red zone or outside to be the number 1 guy. Martavis Bryant is not that. There's nobody else really that's there. Very, very down season. Like I said, along with the rest of the Oakland offense. To me, though, Amari's a dynasty buy now because the hype isn't up. In redraft, he's a guy that I also want probably in the mid to late second or early third because people are going to sleep on him because he was shit last year. But with Crabtree gone, I think that he's got to be the focal point of that passing game. And to me, when the targets go up, and even though his catch percentage has never been great, we always had the Crabtree versus Cooper debate in the red zone, which isn't going to be a thing anymore because Martavis Bryant isn't a red zone threat.
Jordy can be.
Jordy can be, but I think Jordy without Rodgers is nothing.
So
Cooper
is going at 312.
I see the 403 on Fantasy Football Calculator. ADP PPR.
I would love to have him. It's a 312 or the 403. Like if I can get Cooper in the 3rd round, I'm happy about that.
Because he's a definite.
That's a guy with wide receiver 1 upside.
Yeah, I love Cooper this year,
and he's a buy in dynasty for me too because he's still only going to be a 4th-year player.
Because I don't believe in Jordy, I don't believe in Brian, I don't believe in Switzer as much in it. It's much more he's going to be a punt returner. I like Jared Cook, but I don't see him taking.
I like Switzer,
Cooper.
but as a slot guy over the middle,
exactly.
It's gonna play a different role than Cooper.
Jordy and Brian are going to eat into themselves.
Well,
more than Cooper.
I don't think Jordy is Michael Crabtree though. I think Jordy without Rodgers and Derek Carr is not Aaron Rodgers.
And as long as Cooper's healthy, I think he should see a minimum of 140 to 150 targets this year.
Yep, I do too. And then you put that into terms of his catch rate, 140, 150 targets. Okay, well, at that point, you're talking 75, 80 receptions, which puts him back over 1,000 yards, 6 or 7 touchdowns. Yeah, I'll take that in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's back end 3rd, early 4th.
Yeah, I'll take that all day.
Yeah, he's going around guys like Diggs, Gordon, Fitzgerald, Allen Robinson. I would probably take Allen Robinson.
Robinson and Diggs. Well, no, Robinson. Diggs is hurt by Thielen, and Fitzgerald's hurt by the fact that he's old and Sam Bradford. So,
yeah. And I would probably take Cooper over both Thielen and Diggs just because there's only going to be so much production to go around.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Sammy Watkins. I think this one is obvious enough.
Yeah.
He's a guy with a lot of question marks who got paid like he was a top-tier wide receiver, got $16 million a year going to the Kansas City Chiefs. But he's had a second-year quarterback who started 1 game throwing him the football this year. He's already on his 3rd team in his 5th year in the NFL. There's a lot of questions with Sammy Watkins, and I think that's pretty obvious. I still like him. I love the talent, but it's a rough situation.
Isn't this an every year discussion with Sammy Watkins?
And Brandon Cooks.
Up to this point, yes. I could have also said Brandon Cooks.
It's like him and Cooks are one and the same at this point because they can't seem to stick onto a team.
At least
the talent's there.
At least Cooks produces.
And Cook has a clear defined role. Watkins is a big body downfield guy now turned into just possession receiver.
He's had 1,000-yard season in his career. He's got a rookie quarterback. He got paid, but there's also Tyreek Hill there who proved to us last year it can be more than just a deep threat. And Travis Kelce. And if Mahomes develops into his potential, I love it for Sammy Watkins, but I get really tired of having Sammy Watkins has a ton of potential. What's he going to be this year? Because it's an every year conversation. And it's not been good the last several years. So I'm very tepid on Sammy Watkins. To me, he's a guy that if I'm buying him in Dynasty, I want him as a throw-in piece. Don't want him as the focal point of any trade. I want him as a throw-in piece to tie-in. And as far as redraft goes, he's honestly not a guy that I am targeting unless we get back down in the 8th, 9th, 10th round.
Right now he's going at the 708.
Not taking him.
Yeah,
I mean that's close though.
That's where I see him going. I'm with Hopper. I don't.
So,
I'm just
but
not buying into
here's some of
him.
the guys who are going around him though: Jordy Nelson,
Okay.
Will Fuller,
Nope.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Maybe.
Robert Woods is going there, but I know you take him over.
I would
I'd
take
take him
Woods
over
in a
Watkins.
heartbeat.
Yep.
But I mean, those are the other 3 guys going around him. I would take Watkins over Fuller, Nelson, or
You
Sanders.
also got Robbie Anderson, Cooper Kupp,
I would take him over Anderson. Cup is
I
a
would
maybe.
take
Chris
Kupp.
Hogan.
Take Cup
down a little
over
bit
him.
more.
I'd take him
Hogan,
over
I'd for sure
Hogan.
take over.
I wouldn't.
There's a lot of like this is like the upside / possession, floor guys. This is where your floor to ceiling kind of competition starts.
But I don't think they're going to use Watkins as possession guy. I think they paid him to be a true
I'm not
X
saying
receiver.
just for him. I'm saying for the receivers around this area. It's where that possession
So in the one
floor
step,
versus ceiling.
You know who I want here? Honestly, who I would wait for and pass on Sammy Watkins for, not just Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp. Jamison Crowder at the 901, who's very much a Alex Smith type
I
receiver.
like him with Alex
Marquise
Smith.
Goodwin at the 905 after San Francisco didn't do anything. Nelson Aguilar at the 1006.
yeah.
So
I mean, I like all those guys too.
there's values. I
Fuck
like.
Kelvin Benjamin in that offense with nobody in terms of competition.
Yeah, I don't trust his knees.
I don't either.
I don't.
but-
I'm just saying though.
I do want to give one positive note on Watkins.
Yes.
He does have close to a half a touchdown game average through his career, which is really good. Most receivers cannot pull those type of numbers, especially with the tepid passing games he had going to him most of his career. So he's currently coming in at wide receiver 29 in terms of Fantasy Pros expert consensus ranking. But a few people have him ranked down close 40, which 40 is way too low.
He'll be mid 30s for me. I'm pretty sure.
I think I'm probably going to have him late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, I'll be.
I'll
be somewhere.
he'll be a
30.
mid-3.
We'll
Yeah.
see where he lands,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing it's probably going to be somewhere between 34 and
I haven't
36
gone that.
for me.
I haven't gone that deep yet.
Yeah, and then in Dynasty, I kind of like him as a buy if the owner is sick of him. But it's I would not pay optimal
If
price
you can
for him.
get, if you can get cheap,
It's if the owner is
if you
soured
can get
on
what Sean got.
him. Well, yeah, I'll do that every trade every day. Let's not even get into that.
Nope.
Tight ends. Let's start with Gronk.
Okay. Another degree of difficulty thing that kind of fits the Le'Veon Bell thing, but I'm taking this another route. He's only 29. On one hand, that's not young, but tight ends can play into their mid 30s. He's only played 2 full seasons ever, though. He doesn't show signs of slowing down as long as Tom Brady exists, but to me, he's probably got a solid 2 to 3 years left, but you're investing in a guy that's almost guaranteed to miss 2 to 4 games a season. I think the retirement talk's overblown. He was 1,000-yard seasons in 3 of his last 4 years without playing full seasons. You just got to make sure that with Gronk, you have a backup option. I probably want him in redraft because I think he's going too high for a guy that is going to miss a couple games a year, almost guaranteed at this point, because he can't fucking stay healthy at all. And people seem to not want to slap the injury-prone tag on Gronk, but he is.
Did he miss a game from injury last year? I think he just
He missed 2.
He missed
Got
his
hurt.
game from a suspension.
He got suspended.
He was
I think
suspended 1 game, and he was hurt another one. He only played 14 last year.
Yeah, the last game was Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
where he missed, and Dwayne Allen was a hot pickup. That
That's
nothing.
that-
that's
week.
right. He was a last
That
minute
was a
scratch.
week like
And he was
5 or
still
6.
banged up.
Because that was the Thursday night game. I forgot about that.
So
Yep.
But yeah, he's going at 301. He is the first tight end off the board. That is
Nope.
I'm not taking him there. In Dynasty, if I'm a win now, okay. He's a guy I'm maybe trying to sell, though, honestly.
I would.
Unless I'm a win now team.
I'm a little more like even with the dynasty. Okay, so Gronk survives 2-3 years. Does Brady survive 2-3 years? Does Belichick? That entire team could be fucking completely new in 2 years.
Brady for 2 years, I'd be willing to bet more on that than not.
So I mean, I don't like to take tight ends early in redraft anyways. So 301's too early for me.
No, it is for me too. And Gronk to me is intriguing because they're especially in Dynasty because of retirement talk. But I think that you probably have him for a few more years, and he can easily go get paid and do something else if he keeps getting hurt. But he's not slowing down when he's on the field. It's just him being on the field.
This is a good player to bring up because it's just like with Bell. It's because he's a high end player at his position that people are now taking the name value into consideration, whereas he may not be able to produce what you expect him to.
Well, no, his value is tanked in Dynasty.
Yeah.
I sold him for 2 firsts last year, right before the retirement news happened. There's a 0 chance I can get that price now.
Nope.
True.
His value has tanked.
If you're win now, hold him. If you're not win now, you better hope he blows up at some point during the season, and then you sell him immediately.
Yeah, and that the retirement rumors in the next year or two get tamped down. But yeah, he's a player where just I don't know that you can move him right now.
I don't think you can either. There's a couple old tight ends that I don't think you can move right now. Olsen and Graham being the other two.
Absolutely. Howard?
So Hopper went for degree difficulty. I went, I guess, for the softball kind of pitch here. I think both tight ends for Tampa Bay you can put in this spot. I picked OJ Howard. So for redraft, I have one note written down. Is this his role in 2018? Brait seemed to be more of the receiving guy there, but Howard came on of late, and then it was more of just inconsistency. For both of them, it was
pretty equal target share throughout the season. Honestly, when you look at it,
yeah.
Brait had a higher snap share, but it's pretty equal target share.
Okay, and then for Dynasty, it's just for the Bucs signed Brait for a 6-year deal. Their potential out isn't posted on Spot Track yet, but it looks like it's gonna be post 2020. His 2019 salary is fully guaranteed after the 5th league day year, and his 2020 salary is going to be $4 million after the 5th day year. So Brait looks like he's going to be there for at least the next 3 years, unless something traumatic happens.
I mean, if they cut him if they cut him right after the season, they don't owe him anything.
True, but that's early March.
Yeah,
that's, if I'm just saying, but. That's also for
the rapport that Winston has with Brait also in that passing offense.
That's kind of where it starts with.
What concerns me.
But Howard ends up right now. Howard looks to be what Goddard. I just said for Goddard on Monday's episode is the next Greg Olsen, the next Martellus Bennett. Where on his second team with his upside is where he'll flourish because he's now blocked by.
The contract.
Brait's only 26 years old.
The contract they gave Brait is basically a 1-year deal with 5 team options on it. They can basically renew him every year if they want. So basically, he's a ticking clock that whenever they decide Howard's broken out, they're going to cut him.
The Howard draft pick is one that never made any sense to me, honestly.
No,
the landing spot made zero sense to me at all.
I hated the landing spot at the time. I still like Howard. I still think he's a great player. He's a buy for me in Dynasty.
I still like Brait. And that's where the debate here is going to come is how do you differentiate? Who do you put your dart throw on? Because you've got a third and a second-year tight end, right?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, you got a third and a second-year tight end. Brait has shown rapport with Winston. Howard took on more of a role as the year went on. Both have proven themselves as receivers. Both have proven themselves as blockers. They've both proven themselves as adequate NFL tight ends.
And like the mouse feed, it's not just tight ends. It's not just Brait versus Howard. It's now Evans, Jackson, Godwin, Watson, Rojo. I won't mention Barber because he's not part of the passing
Fuck
game.
Peyton Barber.
But there's now 5-6 with Humphreys if he makes the team.
And I don't think he
not
does.
counting those two.
Yeah.
So he can say there's 7 potential mouths to feed. And those who are not just competing against themselves, but also competed against the guys we just mentioned before.
And I would argue that in the long term, Howard is the second or third most talented pass catcher on that team.
Second or third? You think he's more talented than Godwin?
That's why I'd say second or third.
And Rojo and Watson?
I think he's more talented than Rojo.
Rojo for sure.
Watson, I don't know.
We don't know about Watson.
I don't know what his roles. I don't know what his role is going to be with the wide receiver being such a blocked mess there.
I think Godwin and Evans are the future of this receiving core. Where Brait and Howard, if they both sustain in the same
Brait
teams.
On a different team is a very long-term, reliable receiving option in the same vein as like a Heath Miller or a Dallas Clark was, or even a Witten.
And the Bucs may like you say, like this is a 1-year deal with 5 team-year options. But the fact is, it's a 6-year deal. The Bucs clearly see something in Brait. They clearly see.
It's not like he hasn't shown enough for the Bucs to see something.
Once I got the full details of that contract screams to me, we're not sure Howard is quite ready yet, so we need a option to have Brait.
And this is why we have the conversation about Howard. Is when does Howard break out?
And I'm going to hold Brait because people are going to be down on him. And
he's a bad sell.
I don't want to turn this into a Brait conversation. He's a bad sell. I think he's a great buy because if they do decide to eat out from him, wherever he lands with what he's shown, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I'd love him in Arizona as opposed to Gresham.
RSJ.
I love him in any place. Like,
I
put him in fucking Dallas.
Buying an RSJ.
Put him in Dallas.
Put him in Dallas.
Dallas would be great, yes.
Dallas or anybody at this point because they have nothing there.
If they trade for him or something like that happens, Oh man.
But like even like with Howard, like Brait, like we may say it's going to be the guy that may leave. But Howard could leave. I know that he has a first round tag to him.
That's 3 or 4 years down the line. That's
that could be.
That's too far to project.
He has the 5th year option, which helps, which is important to bring.
We
up.
barely know what's going to happen next month. Let's not try to do.
You don't know what happens next fucking week.
I don't think both of these guys are long for this team. I will agree with that.
Yeah, I think by 2019,
so one of them's gone.
Yeah, so by the time we're through the 2019 season, we'll have a better idea.
And I think they're both worth owning and holding because I think they're both extremely talented and viable.
I can see Tampa Bay move wanted to keep both because it gives them that 2 tight ends. Like
now when they have to pay,
they move on. But they don't have to pay Howard for 4 years.
And who you taking off the field? You're in 2 tight end sets whenever you've got Godwin and Watson and Rojo and Evans.
It's Watson.
They'll eventually move on from Jackson. Watson, we love Watson's talent and tape, but he's buried on this depth chart.
He's a 5th round.
Godwin took forever to get on the field last year, and he's a third. At this point, he's better than Jackson. At this point,
yeah. All right, that's enough about Tampa Bay's woes. Trey Burton. I've seen the hype on him just get out of control at this point.
It's stupid.
It is.
For a guy with 6 career touchdowns, averaging less than 10 yards a reception, averaging just barely over 1 catch per game played. I love the landing spot. I love the offense, but he's being hyped up as a top 10-ish dynasty tight end right now.
I would him in redraft.
I would bet on Shaheen before I would bet on Burton.
I 100% agree. I don't think this one's much of an argument. This is more of an industry.
This is more of an industry industry versus us. Everybody's high on Burton. I am not. I think Shaheen's the better blocker. I think Shaheen's a very good pass catcher. I think Shaheen's can work the seam. I think he's better in the red zone. Trey Burton, I think, holds a Trey Burton role, but I think Shaheen is the guy that's long for the Kelsey duty.
Yeah, he profiles better. They spent a 2nd round draft pick on him in a really, really good tight end class last year. Burton, he was a guy when he got signed there. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I will maybe target him as a fringe tight end 1 if I don't draft the tight end early this year.
Upside play.
And then the hype is just blown up, and so now I've completely flipped the script and just like, I'm not going to own him anywhere.
But for me
but I'll own Shaheen somewhere.
I'm really interested to see how the roles play out through preseason. Like there's like this whole offense changed. Everything has changed now. Like we all love Trubisky with the weapons they put around him. You bring in Allen Robinson, you draft Anthony Miller, you bring in Trey Burton, you still have Shaheen, which we like. We still have Cohen. There's still a lot of mouths. There's still a lot of moving pieces here with a whole new offensive coaching staff where we don't know because Nagy wasn't there when they drafted Shaheen, so obviously his draft capital is still there.
He came out and said this week that he loved Shaheen and he loved Cohen and he loved the 2017 draft. Yeah. So there you go.
Maybe he wants to use 2 tight end sets. Maybe this is going to be a Howard, and then you have Miller and Robinson on the outside. Then you fuck with Burton and Shaheen.
Yeah, I mean that's literally what I'm saying.
But but as we saw from before,
and you still got Cohen that you got to mix in there. So.
The greatest upside is now going to be New England, or is it going to be more of what Baltimore tried to do with Dixon and Pitta? No, I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I'm just trying to paint a different picture here. Whereas we still don't know what the clear roles are going to be in terms of, is Shane just a blocker, or is he going to get more passing upside? Is Burton strictly just a move tight end?
I mean, at this point, outside of Howard and maybe Allen Robinson, I think the Bears are the toughest team to project for 2018.
Yeah. And that's the only reason I'm trying to just point out is that I'm not paying that much for Burton. I completely agree with you guys.
As a Bears fan, it's a great problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it looks like it's going to be exciting, and you just hope it all works out.
We all just hope Rams 2.0.
Yeah, and it very well could be. But even the Rams
struggled.
There was only 4 fantasy relevant people off that team at any given time. It was Woods,
Kupp, Goff, and Gurley.
And then when Woods got hurt, Watkins became relevant.
Yep. You could make an argument if you guessed right on Higbee or Everett.
That was a terrible guess.
Not unless you're in a 2 tight end league.
Yeah. Even then.
So yeah, it's a situation.
I'm sure we'll debate those 2 later this season.
Yeah, that'll come up at some point too. But yeah, so Burton is just a guy where the hype is exceeded, and I wanted to put him here because I think he's going to be a lot of arguments we get into this offseason with other people.
I agree.
Yeah, you need to level expectations on that because he is not a top 10 tight end.
Yeah, and
not right now.
I could see him finishing there, but I'm not projecting him that way.
Nope.
All right. let's put a bow on that. That has been a long enough episode. Real quick shout outs to everything. If you watch the whole thing on YouTube, thank you so much. You can find us there at Beerfield Fantasy Football. Please subscribe to it. We're trying to build our subscriber account there. If you can like the videos, we also appreciate that. Comments, any way you can do that to increase traffic to the episodes. We're on Instagram, Beerfield FF. Facebook is Beerfield Fantasy Football. Individually, I'm at Nick Sparts. To my left is Christopher Hopper.
At Hot BFF. Check out the merch on YouTube, hat, shirts, whatever. Hit us up.
Yep, DM us or email us at beerfieldfantasy@gmail.com. Dan Thur's across the table from me.
Dan Thur at BFF. These guys said everything else that needs to be said.
Yep, you can find us all of us together on Twitter at BeerfieldFF if you want to reach the show. Any guest spots we do, we will tweet out on there, and we'll be tagged probably 30 times.
And there's a lot of them, so.
So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Sorry for the real long episode. This got more contentious than I was intending, but it was some good discussions. If there's any other questions you got for us for future episodes, let us know. We're probably going to start moving into some buy-sells next week, and then we'll start going into division previews in June. But beyond that, let's wrap this up, and we'll see you guys next time on Beerfield Fantasy Football.
Peace. See ya.
I've had to pee for the last time.
I went pee water right out of the room earlier.
Every night in my dreams